I wanted to establish a certain baseline, right? A certain baseline as regards to my relationship with combat sports. Streamers within my sphere happen to be horror related, right? I I'm not, but I am. And I'm going to explain that to you in just a moment. But first things first. Let me talk about combat sports. Let me talk about boxing, right? One day when I was a wee little lamb in the early 90s, my grandpa, who recently we had just moved over to where my grandparents were, and my grandpa was a big fan of boxing. I want you to understand something. My world up until that point was effectively Sesame Street, the Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt compilation cartridge for the NES, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Just imagine a little baby lamb, and a little toddler lamb, and that is the only thing. Those are the only points of reference in life, right? So one day, Grandpa Sheep, he looked something kind of like this, right? Grandpa Sheep was like, "Hey, little Deo lamb, I want you to come in here, and I want you to watch. I want you to watch this." Now, I don't know what the exact fight would have been that he had me watch, but understanding that my grandfather was a huge fan of Mike Tyson at that time, understanding the time frame, I am almost certain that it was this Mike Tyson-Henry Tillman fight that he had me watch. Granted, this was a 23-year-old Mike Tyson. This was a Tyson in his prime. As a little lamb, two chiseled Goliaths, demigods, if you will, step into a squared ring. They close this distance, and then, violently, they assault each other. Again, up until this point, my knowledge of the world was cartoon animals with big eyes, being friends. This was the opposite of that. This was the opposite of my entire world. Do you know how frightening this is? Do you know how frightening it is to see two grown adults effectively fight each other to possible death? Even with my fragile understanding of the world at that time, I knew how horrific this scene was. I didn't know about Mike Tyson's reputation back then. How could I? I spent my days playing Super Mario Brothers. And Super Mario Brothers 2. And Dr. Mario. That was my life. Why did Grandpa want to show me this? Oh God, I was afraid. The action was so visceral to my baby lamb eyes that I was afraid that any one of these punches could come out of the TV and hit me, right? I was afraid. This is horror. Knowing that people are capable of such raw power and strength, that is horror. This was the scariest thing I had ever seen in my life up until that point. The power of one Mike Tyson. A look of fear scarred into my eyes. And there you go. For all I knew, that man was dead. These are the death throes of a man whose soul has left his body. And it was all over. And yeah, that was horrific. that was kind of horrific to me. All I could say is that combat situations like this, the intimacy of two human beings wanting to beat the hell out of each other, of course this was frightening. Granted, like TMNT, watching the cartoon was okay because it was just big-eyed cartoon characters who made quippy noises and were cute and funny, and that was okay. But I couldn't watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie for a while. Mainly, one, because the costumes scared the bejesus out of me, but also because, again, these movie characters, I couldn't see the relationship they had with the cartoon characters that were so beloved to me, because it was so frightening, action so raw, so visceral. I was afraid of martial arts and combat sports. These are inherently frightening, inherently horrific concepts. So let me transition over to something real quick, right? Now it's 1990. I want to say 1991, right? It's 1991, and I'm still a wee baby lamb, and I am at a supermarket, and mom gets done with the groceries, and lo and behold, I see something really interesting near the exit in the corner of my eye. I see a Street Fighter II cabinet, specifically the Street Fighter II Championship Edition cabinet. Sure, the graphics of the game here were very colorful, very bright. The action also frightening because I'm still traumatized from watching Mike Tyson effectively murder a man with his punches. But this is a machine that I see, and I grow to become very familiar with it because I see it in many stores, in many restaurants, effectively anywhere where there is a wall socket, right? In the early 90s in Southern California, this machine was plugged in and had people playing on it. So, mainly because I couldn't reach the actual joystick and buttons at the time, I did, sometimes I would watch other people play. And one day, I noticed an army bro, or at least a guy in fatigues, playing Street Fighter 2. And I'm like, oh, look at him go. He's wearing a uniform just like Dad wore. Okay, cool. There you go, army guy. Awesome. And then, that was that. That's just something I noticed one day, and then maybe about a week later, or a couple weeks later, I walk by the Street Fighter 2 machine again, and I notice something peculiar. I notice this guy. I see this guy on the screen, and I see this guy doing flash kicks and sonic booms, and he's he look at him go. Look at this other army guy in fatigues. I wonder, is it a coincidence that this guy is in the game, and I saw this guy playing Street Fighter 2 like a week ago? Is there a coincidence, or no? It can't be a coincidence, because everything in this world is by design. It is known. Humans made this world. Humans made this world with intentionality, right? So, my little lamb brain put two and two together, and obviously this is what happened. There has to have been a camera, some kind of camera device, somewhere in the middle of that cabinet, possibly in that marquee where the Street Fighter II Championship Edition logo is. Maybe there was probably a hidden camera in there, and that camera copied the soul of the army bro and turned it into this guy, Guile, right here. That's obviously what happened. I don't know if it consumed the man's soul, because I never saw that random man again. Maybe it did, right? Maybe it did. Or maybe it was just a copy. Maybe the game made a facsimile of the army man. Well, all I knew is that from then on in, this army guy, Guile, would show up in every other Street Fighter machine. So I had to think, well, are there any other, well, I know that there's like a random karate dojo somewhere in town. So obviously a couple guys who were karate guys were playing Street Fighter 2, and that's how we got the white karate guy, Ryu, and the red karate guy, Ken. That's obviously what happened. I hope that their souls are okay and whole. But then something else happened. Something else happened, right? Let me introduce y'all to somebody. Okay, that's my dad. That's my dad right there. That's Papa Lamb, right? Now, I don't think I saw him play Street Fighter 2. I think I saw him maybe look at the cabinet once. I noticed him looking at the cabinet. I think he pushed some buttons, but I don't think he actually played it. Lo and behold, a week later, I notice an interesting character pop up in Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. I see this guy. I see that guy. Right? When I saw Balrog, I was like, hold up. Is that Daddy? Is this Daddy? Did the game take Daddy's soul? I went home and I saw Dad was at home and I saw, oh, okay, Dad's okay. Dad's okay. And Dad seems fine. So obviously the game doesn't take your soul. Instead, it has to duplicate it. It has to create a clone of your digital soul. And then it turns that into a puppet for everyone to fight. This is a horrific game. This is horrific. This is a horrific contraption right there. Taking souls, or at least copying them, probably without permission. To do battle and to do things like make each other beat the crap out of each other digitally like this. That's horrific. And that's scary. The world is cruel. There are no more natural predators for human beings, so now we hunt each other with our fists, with our fireballs, and with our head kicks. And how could human beings have such a capacity for cruelty, is what I thought as a child. Eventually, I got really curious, and then I rented Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo, and I played that shit for like a month straight. I didn't return that bitch for a month. That game was the shit. I was cured. At that point, fighting, combat, martial arts. These things no longer frightened me. Now that I had tried Street Fighter 2, now that I was a fighter, it made me want more. It made me want more. I immediately asked, Dad, please rent the Ninja Turtles movie. And he was like, no, but you hated it. You cried a lot when you saw it. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna try it again. I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy now. I'm not gonna cry. And so I did. We did watch the Ninja Turtles movie. And that movie was awesome. I mean, it was made by Sammo Hung's stunt team. That movie was actually really damn good for effectively a children's live action kung fu movie. It was pretty sweet.